right, so the question is on the bar direction solver. And I get this question a lot. And so I'm actually going to show how to use the YouTube search capability. And here we go. That's the bar we're looking for. So when you're using range bars, or, well, I mean, sometimes this can even happen on a minute bar or a tick bar. You know, sometimes you get dojis like this. And so, you know, with the bar direction solver, you can see those bars are not picked up because there is no body on it. So let me just kind of give an example here. So let's get BloodHound open and let's put in today's file name. All right, so it's the 16th. All right, so just to demonstrate quickly, we're going to put in a bar direction. Just add a bar direction there. And if we look on the chart, right, we can see these two dojis here don't have a direction to them. They don't have an output, right? There's you know, no output there. It's all black or blank or black. So the question is, you know, how can we get a bar direction for a doji like that? So let's see. I'm going to switch over to using the logic template now, and let's shrink the chart up a little bit. All right. So let's see. All right, so we're looking for a bar direction on range, bar direction, actually let's just say with dojis. Okay. Let's see. All right, yeah, I guess that's a good enough name. All right, so let's add our bar direction solver here. All right, so we got that part. That's the easy part. So the next part is, you know, identifying these dojis here. So let's see, you know, so what these dojis have in common, right, is that the close is at the high or the close is at the low. So what we can do is do a comparison. We can compare the closing price to the high price of the bar, or we can compare the closing price of the bar to the low of the bar, right? So if the closing price equals the low of the bar, then we know it's a down doji. And if the closing price equals the high of the bar, then we know it's an up doji. So if we're comparing the closing price to the high of the bar or the low of the bar, then we're doing a comparison. So we'll grab the comparison solver like so. And let's give this a name here. So we're going to compare the close to the high or low. All right, so we're using basically we're comparing one price to another price, right? So we're going to set our inputs to price. Let's stretch this down a little bit. So let's change this to price, and then we're going to change input B to price. All right, so the first price is the closing price. So we can see input A, it's already set to the closing price. Now input B, we want to set this to the high or the low. All right, so in this case, for a long situation, right? That means the closing price is going to equal the high. So for a long here, we're going to use the high, And for a short situation, we're going to use the low, like that. All right. Now, next step is we need to change our outputs here. Because you see here, see the outputs that are turned on? It says A is greater than B or A is greater than B. Right? But most likely, the closing price is going to equal the high, or the closing price is going to equal the low. So we want A equals B. So we need to turn this A equals B on, like that. And there we go. Now we can see our dojis now have an output there, like so. And just as a kind of a safety precaution, because if you've ever looked at time and sales very closely, there's quite a few instruments that will trade on a tenth of a tick or even a hundredth of a tick. Oil is very notorious for trades coming in at a fraction of a tick. Yeah, oil is very notorious for that. So, so when you guys are setting up price comparisons like this, as a safety factor, it might be a good idea to put in like a tenth of a tick here. So now let me click off here to update the label here. So now you can see the label says A equals B within a tenth of a tick. So that way, if the high of the bar is within a fraction away from the closing price, so so they may not equal each other exactly, because there might have been some kind of an oddball price trade that came in, right? And so now allowing a tenth of a tick difference will still consider the high and the close to be equal, the same with the low and the close to be equal when you get these fractions of a tick trades that come in. So okay, that should do it. And the last step is we're just going to do an OR node like this, like that, and that completes it. So basically, these two solvers kind of cover pretty much every situation there. So all right, so that should wrap it up for that question here. So let me take a look at these other questions from Thomas and Phil. So Thomas, I think what you want to identify would be that bar and that bar after the output turns off. Is that what you're looking for? Okay. All right, good deal. So, all right, I'm gonna try a couple of things here. Let's see, I'm not sure exactly how to do this one off the top of my head, but let's just kind of play around here and see what we get. All right, I think I did it. Wow. Okay, first of all, before I get ahead of myself here, I need to mark the chart up a little bit. So let's go through and mark the chart up here so I can verify that what I've got is correct. let's see. So I want to stay in the drawing mode and just use the little diamond here, and I'm going to mark the bars that we want marked. All right, I think that should be good enough. And let's reconnect the ratio node up. All right. Take a look at the chart. Okay, that one looks good. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. All right, that one's good. Good, good, good. Yeah, all right. You know, all those points all looked good. So I think, yeah, that does it. All right. So there we go. So okay, so here's what I did. All right, so here's kind of the output from your system, right? So this solver is just representing the output from your system, right? So this is your normal output, and let's kind of zoom in here, and right, so we've got an output there, and we have an output there. So that's our normal output that I've marked. And just for fun, let's add some color to this. And now let's take a look at this look back node. So what this look back node is doing is, right, I have the displacement set to 1. So that way what it's doing is it's taking our system signals and it's shifting everything forward by 1, or it's displacing everything forward by 1. Right? So if we look at the chart, right, so here's the right, the rectangle showing where the original signals are, and then we can see that we've got, right, this one, right, we've got a signal shifted forward 1 bar, right, so we're missing a signal back here at the beginning, and then it's shifted forward 1 bar, right, so we're missing a signal at the beginning, but all the signals have been shifted forward 1 bar, like so. So that's what the look back is doing. And then I grab the ratio node, and I'm just doing a comparison here. So is A greater than B? And so A is our look back node, right? So A is this output here on this bar. So we're actually looking, so A, right, A has an output. If we look at B, actually, just a moment, let me actually mark this. So that's, right, so that's the output for A. So A has an output, right? And then let's look at the output for B. All right, so this is connected into B for our ratio node. And we can see B has no output, so it has a value of 0. Right, so the look back node, if we take a look at that, right, it has a value of 1 on that bar. B has a value of 0 because there's no signal, right? No signal on that particular bar, so it has an output of 0. So whenever A has greater than B, which will be on this bar here, then that's when A is greater than B. That's when that condition's met, and therefore that's when we get an output from the relational node. Let's see. So the relational node, we're just using the default settings. I didn't have to change anything. Just using the default settings. And let's see, the same for the lookback node. That is the default settings for the lookback node. So I really didn't have to do anything extra. Just grab a lookback and grab a relational node and connect it up. So, all right. So I think that takes care of it for Thomas. Okay, so here's the screenshot, and I'm assuming that the blue and the red lines is the GMM indicator. So the question is, let's see, so we're looking for signals at the ellipses here. Let's see, so just here's the question. All right, so after a down cross, let's see. So I guess, all right, so here's the down cross. Okay, that makes sense. And then we're looking for price. I guess price needs to have a little pullback and then cross the GMMA again after the cross down. And right, okay, yeah. All right, I think I get it. And here's another screenshot. So you guys, can you see the racing stripes on the chart, right? So we have a red racing stripe here, a green one here, right? So the green one is showing that the GMMA has crossed up, and this red racing stripe has shown that the GMMA has crossed down, right? So, all right, and then we can see, you can see all the ellipses here are identifying price. Let's zoom in here a little bit. Yeah, it's identifying when price is kind of crossing above the GMM plot, right? So price kind of pulls back, and then the price of the bar, or the bar, the close of the bar, crosses up again above the GMMA indicator. You can see all these little multiple cross ups, right? So over here, the green racing stripe that we see on the chart, right? That's identifying that the GMMA has crossed up, and so therefore we're looking for when the price of the bars has crossed above, I guess, the highest blue line here, the highest blue plot of the GMMA indicator there. All right, and the opposite is true for this situation over here. So the GMMA indicator has crossed down, which has been identified by the red racing stripe, and now we're looking for whenever price crosses below the lowest blue line there, the lowest blue plot of the GMMA indicator. So, all right, so now that you guys have had a look at that, let's see, we're going to use the 10 EMA and the 25 EMA. Okay. And Phil, I take it, will the 10 and the 25 EMA also work for this GMMA, crossing up and crossing down situation as well? Yes. Okay, great. All right, let's start a new logic template here. And not actually using the GMMA, but for the lack of a better name, I'll just call it the GMMA. Let's see, actually, GMMA price crossovers. There we go. It's, more specifically, it's price crossing over. And let's see. Okay, we were using a Renko bar. So I'm sure, you know, any Renko bar will work out there. Let's see. Okay, this was a Unirenko. So let's switch over to a Unirenko. All right, 151 looks like. So let me get some indicators on the chart. All right, so it looks like the 10 EMA would be the blue one from the screenshot. So let's make this blue. There we go. And we'll make the 25 the red one. Yeah, it looks like the 10 isn't fast enough. You know, I guess kind of one thing I need to know here, Phil, is, you know, maybe it doesn't actually matter. Yeah, I guess even the really fast blue line, you know, I guess, yeah, it looks like price is even crossing the really fast blue line here. Yeah, that really fast blue line looks like it, I don't know, it's only like a 2 period or something like that, or a 5 period, but I guess it's not, doesn't really matter. Looks like we're going to get the same results. So yeah, so whenever price is crossing up there, yeah, it looks like we're getting the same results. So I think this will work for us. You know, at least as far as building the BloodHound logic, this should all just work fine. All right, let's get BloodHound back open. And all right, so the first thing we need to know is, you know, whether the GMMA is crossed up or crossed down, right? So instead of using a crossover just identifies that particular bar, right? The crossover solver just identifies the one particular bar, just that one bar. It doesn't, the crossover solver doesn't identify the state of one indicator being above another indicator. So that's what we're actually looking for, is we're looking for, you know, is the blue plot above the red plot, right? So we're not actually looking for a crossover condition, we're actually looking for a above or below condition, right? So is one plot above or below the other plot? So that's what we're really looking for. To do that, we're doing a comparison. We're comparing, you know, is one indicator above or below another indicator? So let's, so we're going to check to see if the EMA 10 is above or below the EMA 25. So there's a name for this solver. And so next, let's put the EMA indicator in there. All right, let's change our period to 10. Okay, and then down here for input B, we're going to do the same thing. Put the EMA in there. Change that 25 to a 10. I would change the 14 period to 25. Now, if we were actually using the real GMMA indicator, right, then what we'd have to do is we'd have to go down here and select the correct plot from that indicator, right? So that indicator looks like it has about 10 plots, and so you'd have to make sure that you're selecting the correct plot, you know, for the red or blue line that you're actually comparing there. You know, so in the GMMA indicator, whichever plot represents the EMA 25, that's what you would need to select here. So okay. And, you know, and also the same thing for the EMA 10. So of course, the EMA 10, if we were actually using the GMMA indicator, you would need to select the correct plot that represents the EMA10 plot. So, okay, so if we look at the chart, there we go. There's kind of our crossed up or crossed down state or condition, right? So this acts as a filter now. So when I use this indicator with this solver with a AND node, so I'm going to plug that into an AND node like this. So this solver, right, with this output becomes a filter. So now when I look for these cross-up conditions, only the cross-up conditions are gonna show up because they're getting filtered by the green output here. So, all right, this will make sense here in just a moment. So let's grab the next solver that we need, which is a crossover solver. So now we actually want to identify the individual bar where price crosses above our EMA10 or the blue plot. So what we're looking for now is we're actually looking for these individual plots, or I'm sorry, these individual bars that cross up. That's what we're looking for now. Like so. Yeah. Okay, so to identify the individual bar that has the crossover on it, or the cross up or the cross down on it, to identify that individual bar of the crossover, that's what the crossover solver is for. So let's plug that in there. All right, give it just a moment to think about it. There we go. Okay, so what we're looking for is the close of the bar to cross over. In our case, we're using the EMA10, but of course, if we were using the GMMA indicator, it would be whatever plot represents the fastest plot line. So okay, so let's see. Let's set this. Finish setting up the solver here. So our first input is going to be price, right? So for input A, we're going to set that to price, and we're using the closing price of the bar. So that's already done for us. All right, and the next input is our EMA10 here. So let's change input B to the EMA. There it is, and of course, this is where you would normally want to put the GMMA indicator in there, and then you would need to select the correct plot line that you're looking for, right? The bar to cross over. Okay, so all right, so here's all those, here's all the crossover points, and we can see. Right, we can see that we're getting cross downs and cross ups. And that's because we're only looking at just this solver here. So if we take a look at the AND node and then plug the crossover into the AND node, now we get the filtered signals like so. All right, it's pretty straightforward there. So let me just pull up the logic again. Here we go. So that's really all it took, was just two solvers. So the first solver identifies whether we're in a long state or a short state. Right, so if I take a look at that, the first solver just kind of identifies the trend state. Is the GMMA, in a uptrend, or is the GMMA in a downtrend? That's what we're figuring out first. And then the second solver here just identifies the bars crossing crossing the faster moving GMMA lines there. And then you put them both together and they filter each other out, just like so. Okay, yeah, so if Charles is trying to eliminate signals during a consolidation phase, and to identify consolidation, he's using Ninja's swing indicator. So, all right, so let's get this. Let me get something on the chart here so you guys can get a visual of this. And Charles was asking if I've already done this before, and I actually have, but it's really easy to do. So we can demo this again here. Let's see. So I need to find the swing indicator and put that on my chart here. All right. So Charles, any kind of preference? Is just use the default 5. Is that good enough? Let's see, I'll just put 5 on there for now. Okay, so here's kind of what, let's see, how we draw on the chart here. So you can see here where price breaks below the low there, and so this is when the trade signals are to be allowed, so to speak. And I'm guessing that in this area that would be considered a consolidation phase, and we don't want any trades to take place. But so the condition, so the missing piece is, when is a consolidation, when does a consolidation start? Because if I look back here, look, well, I broke that swing point. And so when does the consolidation begin? That's kind of the key that we need to know is when does consolidation start? Because once price has broken a swing point, then we need another condition that tells us when the next consolidation starts. All right, so that's the missing piece I need from you there, Charles, is, how are you determining when consolidation starts? Because, BloodHound needs to know that, because otherwise, if we, let's see here. Actually, let me change my chart. So if we go all the way back to the beginning of the chart here, we can identify that consolidation has ended there, right? So consolidation has ended because price has crossed above one of the swing plots. And so then once it's ended, when does consolidation start again? So so the issue is once you've enabled it, it stays enabled forever. You have to decide when to disable signals. So I mean right there so right there I can identify when price breaks above the swing high, and so we're good to take a long. And so if you don't tell the software when to stop, the software is going to say, okay, we've broken, the conditions met, so we're good for a long trade forever. So you have to also set up another condition that says, oh, now we can't take long trades anymore because we're in a consolidation. So we need both. You need to know when consolidation starts and when it ends. So we know when it ends, right? It ends when price breaks one of the swing points. But we need to know when does consolidation start. So otherwise, once we get to this point here on the chart, then we were saying, okay, consolidation for a long trade has ended, and it's going to be ended indefinitely. So, which that won't do you any good. Same situation here. So we've had price break the low swing. So now we could say, you know, it's safe to take a short trade. But then the system will be taking a short trade, you know, forever until you tell it otherwise. So, well, I guess, so for here, something like this, I guess, you know, if we're just toggling back and forth between a long state and a short state, and there actually is no consolidation, then let's see, we'll do something like this. Looking at the chart, all right, yeah, it looks like that would be considered a short state until we finally break this swing high. All right, so there's a swing high right there. That gets broken. And then once that is broken, the system would toggle to a long state until, let's see, until about there. And then it would flip over to a short state again. Right? So we can see that there actually would be no consolidation periods in between here. So, okay, all right, good. So consolidation starts when we get a lower swing high or a higher swing low. All right, so let's see, we'd be in a, yeah, so this would be in a uptrend, or yeah, a long state until here, and then yeah, it looks like from here we'd be in a down state until here. There we go, because we got a higher low. Yeah, so right there we identified a higher low right there. Yeah, so there we go. So that downtrend would end. Let's see, let's make this a red so we know it's a downtrend. And we'll make the uptrend green. There we go. And let's see. So it looks like we'd start another downtrend right about there. And let's see, when would it end? Looks like it wouldn't end until about there. Yeah. So we broke the swing high right here. And then it looks like we're in an uptrend. Okay, and so we'd be in a downtrend here for a very short period of time. Yeah, till about there, because we had a higher low. So that would end, yeah. Oh, and actually, hold on a moment. For that uptrend, yeah, there we go. A lower high was made, so that would end that. All right, so we do have some areas of consolidation. So there we go. A couple of areas of consolidation, yeah. Something like that. All right. There, so I think we kind of have the premise laid down here. So there's one other thing to note. So you should make sure that you understand your indicator. Make sure you understand how your indicator works very thoroughly before you go into an idea here like this. And let me explain what I mean. So just a moment here while I prepare. So to explain what I mean, I need to disconnect my data feed. So this is a little trick to learn about NinjaTrader here. So I'm gonna zoom out here. Okay, so I'm gonna make the longs here a little bigger. Make the long dots a little bigger and easier to see. There we go. All right. So I'm going to show you something about the swing, the Ninja swing indicator. It does some back painting here, and so in real time, and actually in back testing, this becomes problematic, and you're not going to get the results that you think. You're not going to get the results that you actually see on the chart. When an indicator back paints, it's actually lying to you. It's changing the truth of what the indicator is detecting in hindsight. So when an indicator back paints, you don't get the same results when you're trading live. Right? And so what I've done is I've disconnected my data feed, and now I'm going to refresh or reload my chart here. And so let's keep an eye on the swing highs here from the swing indicator. So I'm going to use the arrow key on my keyboard to just step forward 1 bar. Right, so luckily we've already got this marked here. So look how the swing indicator is marking these dots here. And let me actually put a diamond on that. Actually, just like that diamond actually covers it up. So that's probably not a good choice. How about if I just draw a line? There we go. So we can see the line on top of the dots. All right, and so remember, this is the swing high, but we can see that the indicator is still drawing this swing high. So let's step forward 1 more. So I'm going to modify my line there. Step forward again. So you remember before we had identified this area as consolidation because of what the swing indicator told us. So now I'm going to step forward 1 more bar. And look, presto. You see how the swing indicator changed? Remember, it was plotting up here, and it was plotting underneath the white line, but now the dots moved down. Right? So, this indicator changed itself. It modified itself historically. So we don't actually know that this was the new swing high until we got 5 bars out, and then the indicator repainted itself. It repainted, or it's typically called back painting in this industry. So we won't actually know that there's a lower high until 5 bars later. Right? So we won't actually know that there's consolidation here until this point. So that's when we're going to know that there's consolidation. And so this will all be considered a long condition until the swing indicator updates itself. All right, so so with that known, now we can go into here. Now we can go and build this, with this critical piece of information known about the indicators. So, all right, so let me adjust the plot sizes here. And all right, so let's see. Let's start back here. And let's get into logic template. All right, I'm going to start with a new logic template. And let's see, let's call this swing and price action trend. So let's see, the first thing I'm going to look for, is I'm going to start with a crossover. And I'm going to look for these crossover points there. So let's zoom out. There we go. So we're looking for price to cross the swing indicator. Right? Let's redraw this here. So you see how price has crossed below this the red dot, right, or the swing low indicator. So let's look for that crossover condition there. All right, plug that in, and let's give this a name here. So price crossing over the swing indicator. And so we're going to set input A to price, and we'll use the closing price of the bar. And then input B, that'll be our swing indicator. Our swing indicator. And we're going to use the swing plots here. So let's see. All right, so when price crosses the swing high, that'll be good for a long condition. And when price crosses the swing low, that's what you're using for the short trend condition or downtrend. So one thing to note here, you notice how on this bar there's no plot, right? The swing indicator stops plotting one bar back, right? It stops plotting one bar back. So we have to take. So when we're on this bar, let's take a look at it like this. So when this happens, we're looking at this bar, but we have to look back one bar. We have to look back one bar to get the indicator plot. So what we need to do is use a displacement so we can look back one bar, like so. So you notice as soon as I put that displacement in, I got a red signal. All right, I got a short condition there. And there is my long condition there. All right, so price broke above the swing high dot. There, see the swing high dots? There we go. All right, so now this actually needs to be turned into a state, right? Right now you just have one bar with a signal, right? But I think the intention here is that this is not the actual trade signal, but this is more of a trend state. So what we can do is use the toggle node. Plug that into the toggle node, and the toggle node will track the state. So you can see there, see how it fills it in, and it tells us what trend state we're in. And so one thing you'll notice about the toggle node is that in our periods of consolidation, right, the toggle node hasn't been turned off. So, and that's because we haven't built the condition yet that tells us when consolidation starts, right? So we've identified when the trend starts, And so that toggle node is telling us, oh, a trend has started. And then it'll tell us when a trend in the opposite direction has started. Right? So it's just flip-flopping back and forth. And so now we need to build a condition that tells us that, oh, the trend has ended because we either got a lower high or a higher low or something like that, right? So yeah, so for right here, we got a higher low. Right, so right there we can see the swing indicator told us that we got a higher low, and so our downtrend has ended, at least according to Charles. All right, so yeah, let's work on this part right here. Just a moment while I make another setting change there. Okay, there we go. I'm trying to get my chart to scale up a little better so we can see this here. So what we're trying to identify is when the swing low moves up, right? So when we get to this bar, well, I mean, remember the swing indicator back paint, so it's actually going to be a couple of bars back here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think this would be correct. So when we get to this bar, right, that's when the indicator is going to identify this higher swing low. So if we want to double check, whenever I can just reload my chart and then step through it. Right, so we can see that the swing low is still plotting down here, and then there we go. We get to this bar, and then the swing low gets adjusted. The swing low plot gets adjusted there. So, all right. So we want to identify when the swing low steps up, or when the swing high. At the same time, or we want to identify when the swing high steps down. The swing high ever steps down. So, all right, so let's get BloodHound back open. Let's get into our logic board. There we go. And so this is going to be a comparison. So we're comparing the swing low plot to itself. And we're going to be comparing the swing high plot to itself. Right? So we're comparing the swing low plot, basically of the current bar. So let's see, let's get a little dot here. So we're going to be comparing the swing low plot of the current bar, and we're going to be comparing it to 5 bars back, and we're going to see, did that plot move up? Did that plot step higher? And that's what we're looking for, is this plot, the swing low plot, to step higher than the swing low was 5 bars ago. That's right. So we're doing a comparison is what we're doing. So let's plug that in there. And let's see. All right, so let's see. We need some kind of a name for this. Okay, so we're looking for a swing higher low or lower high. There we go. I think that works for a name. Okay, so now we need to change input A and input B to our swing indicator. So let's go replace this SMA. And let's go put the swing indicator in there, like so. And let's see. So we need to decide. So when the swing indicator, when the swing low steps up, do we want to generate a long signal, or do we want to generate a short signal? So I'm going to generate a long signal when the swing low steps up. And if the swing high steps down, I'll generate a short signal. And the reason why is because if an indicator plot steps up, the solvers kind of default to looking for that condition. So the way the solver the default settings for a solver's output, the default settings is it looks for an indicator plot to step up to generate a long signal. Right? So when the swing low steps higher, moves higher, the solver outputs are defaulted to look for that condition to generate a long output. So we're going to use the swing low to generate a long signal, and we're going to use the swing high. When the swing high steps down, we're going to use the swing high to generate a short output. Okay, and so we need to do the same thing here for indicator B. We're going to do the exact same thing. So we're using the swing low to generate a long signal. When the swing low steps higher, we're going to generate a long signal. And when the swing high steps lower, we're going to generate a short signal. So, and for this example, remember we're using a strength of 5. We're just using the default settings. Okay, now, so now remember we're comparing the current bar to 5 bars back, right? So A is the current bar, so it has a displacement of 0. B is going to be the indicator 5 bars back. So we're going to set this to 5, like so. Bingo. Yep, we got it. We got it. So, yeah, well, yeah. Let me kind of point something out here. So remember the indicator back paints. So just a moment here. You may have noticed that BloodHound has identified that step down immediately, right? Instead of identifying it 5 bars later, BloodHound was able to identify it immediately. And that's because when you're putting a solver together, BloodHound has already cached the swing indicator's plots, and so only when you're putting the solver together for the first time, BloodHound's able to read the back painting, right? So right now, BloodHound has the back painted bars cached, so that's why it's able to identify this immediately, right? Normally that should not be the case, right? In real time, this is when BloodHound will identify when the plot steps down. So, the way you can do that to make sure to see how it's going to look in real time is, again, we're just going to refresh the chart. There we go. And let's see here. So we're not getting a signal, and I might need to use a displacement of 6. Okay, yeah. So I needed to add 1 extra displacement. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's see here. So we got this bar 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if this is bar 0, this is bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, I needed to go back 6 bars, not 5. So there we go. I had to make an adjustment, set my displacement to 6. And now we can see, there we go, adjust my arrow. So that's what you actually get in real time with the swing indicator, since that swing indicator is back painting. So yeah, so there we go. Okay, so so we've got this. So when the swing high steps down, we have that identified, and when the swing low steps up, we have that identified. All right, let's take a look at these. Right, we have all these lower highs identified, lower highs identified, right? And we also have higher lows identified as well. There we go. There's a higher low, and let's see. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure where this higher low is coming from, but that's at the very beginning of the chart, so that just could be a swing indicator snafu identifying that. So, of course, yeah, here's our other higher low identified right here. So, all right. So, anyways, we have, we have these lower highs and higher lows identified. So now what we need to do is use that to turn the toggle node off, right? So we want to turn the toggle node off in this area here, right? So we want to get that toggle node turned off when a consolidation state has been identified. So basically this solver here, this solver is identifying our when a consolidation state has started. So, all right, let's plug in the toggle node. And so we're going to take this comparison solver, plug it into the reset, and then on the reset, let's see, we're using an opposite signal. We want to use an opposite signal to force off. There we go. Yeah. So we're using an opposite signal at the reset there. So if we zoom in, right, at the reset connection, we're using an opposite signal. And the way we know it's an opposite signal, right, let's take a look at the signals that are resetting. And so here we go. So this long signal is resetting the short state. So remember the toggle node, right, in this area, right, the toggle node is in a short, right, it's in a short state, right, so we have a short output from the toggle node going on all over here, but our reset signal is long, so it's opposite of what the toggle node state is. So that's why we're using a opposite signal to turn the toggle node off. And so I think that does it right there. Let's just take a look. Let me kind of clean up a little bit. Let's kind of look over here. Yeah, remember over here, we knew that the consolidation was going to be detected a little bit late. Yes, but we got at least one bar of consolidation as the swing indicator stepped down there. All right, and let's see. Yep, same here. So we got a couple of bars of consolidation after. Let's see, let's grab an arrow. So once our swing indicator stepped up, all right, once this higher low was identified, then we were able to generate a couple of bars of consolidation until price broke up again, broke above. So yeah, so there we go. So, all right, so yeah, one other thing here to point out. So right, so this is using Ninja's swing indicator. We also there's also videos that does the same thing, and it uses the swings highs low indicator. So the swings highs low indicator is very similar to the swings indicator. Let me pull it up on here. All right, so this is a free indicator that comes with BloodHound. Let's see, here we go. So the swings highs low indicator, that was actually written by Dorsten, and you can find Dorsten has several indicators up on Big Mike's. Primarily the price action swing indicator, that's a popular one that he wrote. So the swings highs lows came from a Dorsten indicator, and he gave us permission to package it with BloodHound, so that's why we give it away for free for you guys, right? Because it's not our code; it belongs to Dorsten. But the swings highs lows is kind of a second generation of the swings indicator. So it actually does, the swings highs lows will identify swing lows and swing highs a little faster than the swing indicator does. So we've also kind of built basically the same kind of functionality, the same kind of price action movement, but just using the swings highs lows indicator. So you might want to take a look at that as well, Charles. Well, guys, have a good one, and I'll see you guys next year. Alrighty, bye-bye.